Hello, ako si Mitzi, ng Suri Inn. Narito tayo ngayon para mag-review ng comics, ng indie comics mula sa Likha Mo Publishing. So, this is part 3 of the indie comics review. So, welcome, and I hope these this review would help you better understand more about storytelling, visual storytelling in general. I'll do my best to be in depth sa mga comments, and yun. So what's inside? We have um five comics that I have reviewed. Medyo ano na to, long overdue, like last year pa. Pero I think now is like the perfect time um to finish and have this review. So we have Relics by Ronel Ermino, Numeros by Ronjay Valdenor, Obsidian, Age of Extinction by Smartwise and Randomworm, Zurvivors by Benj Galutan, Infected, Black Forest by Randomworm. So I'll just briefly share with you on how I gave my feedback for each. Yung parang structure ng feedback ko para mas directed and objective yung feedback. So I got this tip or activity idea sa work ko, and we call it Roses, Thorns, and Buds. So medyo self-explanatory siya. So roses are the positives, what worked in the comic, ano um yung yung best practices on how you delivered the panels, and other technical aspects sa paggawa ng comics. Then Thorns, hindi lang pala technical and concept-wise. So Thorns naman, yung pain points. So usually ito yung mga what didn't work, what could have been better to do. Yun. So yung buds ay ideas for improvement. Ayun. So generally, these are like action steps on how you could further improve. So may thorns tayo. Parang gagawa natin siya ng action. Okay, how to improve it. So hindi lang kami basta nagsasabi na, hindi to masyado nag-work. Tapos hindi kami magbibigay kung ano yung sa tingin namin kung paano i-improve. So parang buds is always that ideas for improvement. So heads up lang, I'm mostly focused on the thorns and buds. Kasi yung roses, well, syempre, papasadahan natin yung roses na yan. Pero I think it would be more valuable for our viewers and our komikeros, content creators, to consider the thorns and buds. So yun, dami kong sinasabi, no? Pero sige, let's go. Spoilers ahead. So, sa mga hindi pa nakakabasa ng mga comics nila, balikan nyo na lang tong video na to if, ayun, nabasa nyo na sila. Okay, sige. So, first up is Relics. Relics, Art and Story by Ronnel Ermino. Forgive me kung medyo na-miss out ko yung mga details ng main premise. Pero as I can remember, it's a world na godless and basta full of monsters siya. Tapos parang may nakakalat na mga artifacts with divine powers. And merong at least sa first chapter na nabasa namin, na na-provide sa amin ay isang duo na isang mage master and ang pangalan at isang slave na what's his name? Basta yun, si Joe, yun. So parang at first parang sidekick lang siya. Then, the plot, he was given parang maraming gustong mag-agaw dun sa relics na yun, sa artifacts na yun of divine power para yun, to have for people to have power. So skip to fast forward, um, nagkaroon ng accident and the slave, si Joe, siya yung siya na-absorb niya yung powers, yung relics na 'to. And ayun, after gaining that power from the relics, um, he fought. He continues to fight monsters. Yun. So that's I hope I did justice to that summary. Pero yun, that's the essence of what Relics is about. So here are sample pages of the inside pages of Relics. So ayan. So at first glance, I really appreciate the tonal values of the shading, toning. Yeah, toning of the comic. And na-sense ko yung paggamit ng reference dito, which is really okay. Um, I think it's a wise use of um, your own knowledge and using references. So it's a really good start. Foundation wise, yun. So so roses naman. So first part is roses. Nice story premise, yun yung nabanggit ko kanina. Unique character designs. Yeah, I think the characters there were really well thought of. The soldiers, fighting the monsters, uh, yung villain, I think. Pero hindi ko pa masyado na flesh out yung villain dun sa nabasa ko. Pero okay, I think medyo well thought of yung character designs mismo, um, what do you call this, yung outward appearance nila. Wala pa masyado sa backstory, so since first chapter pa lang naman. Pero at a glance, okay naman. Use of technical reference, like I said earlier, nakita ko yung yung pag-integrate ng reference into making the visual storytelling more appealing. And I think I recalled may hint of humor doon sa pagpo-portray ng characters. Especially dun sa slave na parang iniitsipwera lang siya sa una pero ang nangyari siya pala yung magiging parang, our main protagonist. And yun, yung unang nag-strike sa akin yung use of depth of field with toning. I really, love works na nako-convey niya yung feels, yung aura, pagdating sa toning, well-executed toning. So yung basic use of foreground, middle ground, and background, yun. So let's move on to our thorns. So I think I have three thorns here, like what didn't work for me. At yung una kong napansin kaagad is yung use of, I guess technical wise, yung consistency sa use of shadows sa pag-ink. Like for example, here, um, 13 and pages 13 and 14, yung pag-use ng blacks, parang blackout ba or like naka-opacity ata yung nasa upper left eh. Parang na 80% or 90% yung opacity niya. In comparison sa all black na 100% dito sa lower right. So yung mga ganun lang. Medyo litaw siya. So consistency sa shading and use of yung inking. Next naman ay sa gitna na. Sige. Um, next naman ay yung build-up of events. Anong nilagay ko dito? Um, I disconnect in relating to the first character, POV. Sorry, medyo Ito na yung kinopy-paste ko lang 'to sa notes ko pero, start with the protag, not just label them as generic, ano intention. Okay. So, I think yung nag-strike sa akin is how the creator portrayed our character na slave na, parang sa atin side character lang siya. Pero yun nga, siya pala yung maging main protagonist natin. I think there are more effective ways on how we portray like the character na parang underdog. Um, and I guess yung use of yung humor na parang extra generic looking, yung ganong blurb, for me at least, hindi siya ganun ka-effective na parang okay, mas lalo mong hindi ipe-pay attention yung character na yun. Um, yung build-up of events, I think it's more of yung sequence ng pangyayari na looking for, searching, yung parang may backstory na um, they will look for, they're parang hinahanap pa lang nila yung mismong box of relics na yun na kukunin nila sa isang guardian and all tapos biglang revert back to the present time. So I think for me mas may mas may puwede pang i-improve yung flow nun, yung logical flow on how to portray that search for the relics and yung absorption ng relics. Um, Yun. Maganda yun yung parang idea in per scene. It's just how kung paano siya itahi. Yun. Sorry, nakalimutan ko na kung ano yung mga sequences and yung scenes. Pero there are times na parang nalito ako na okay, backstory pala siya. At siya pala yung nagsusulat and all. So I think better transitioning nga and sequence of the scenes. Ayun. So intention on the appearance of the characters, what happened. Okay. So, wait lang. Parang, lol. Ayan. So, yung third, joke lang. Second pala. Second thorn to. Intention on the appearance of characters. So may characters na nasa harapan. Ay, nasa harapan. Na napakita sa unahan. Nakala ko sila yung magiging main main thing tapos biglang nawala sila at hindi na ulit sila nabalik sa dulo. So, parang ano yung parang hinanap ko sila, parang gano'n. Um, so yun, I think yun nga intention and the appearance of characters na why did you put them there in the first place? Ano yung magiging ambag nila all throughout that chapter kahit malit man yan or what, parang, yun. So, bigla lang silang nawala. So I guess yun, just putting more intention to them. And yung buds, eto, so after those like pain points or what didn't work, now we're here in buds na how can you, or what are the things that you can improve on. So um to address dun sa slave na parang side character na protagonist thing, just make the first impression of the so to underdog na main character be more remarkable if not grand. Um, so yun, it's more of portraying him more in the scene. Visually din hindi lang din sa dialogue. So I think it's more visually. Maganda rin siguro, I think it's this particular scene. So yung second bud ko ay maganda rin siguro kung sorry, wait. Ah, wait lang. Okay, wala ako. Okay. Maganda rin siguro kung may effort na makuha yung box of relics. Kesa ibinigay lang siya niya kaysa ibinigay lang niya yung seal ng king. Wait lang, nawala ako dito. Basta may ano, basta may itong si Mage Master, eto, yung medyo ganid din siya dahil gusto niya makuha yung relics for himself. Um, may guard and pumunta sa isang place na kung saan nagga-guard, may guardian ng relics na yon. And yung exchange na 'to, itong scene na 'to, I think it could have been better na merong conflict pa rin kahit may seal ng king yung, what do you call this, yung mage master na, "Okay, I don't have to fight you because I have the seal of the king." Parang gano'n. I think it would have been fun if may pagka-breaking ng rules or conflict pa rin kasi parang pinortray 'tong guardian of the relics to be, uh, a very powerful character and just letting him waste that na, "Okay, hindi ko puwedeng mapakitaan yung power ko and yung sense of protecting this with all of my life." Nawala lang siya dahil sa seal ng king na baka puwedeng forge yun or something like that, 'di ba? So, parang we must like maximize those strengths ng character na yun. Ano pa ba? Tapos wait lang, dami kong hanash, teka. Ayan, sige. So, yun. So, I think, um, wait lang. Okay. Eh, gulo ko mag-ano, um, yun. Actually, yun lang. Parang it's more of maximizing the strengths and to create more conflict para mas gripping yung scene na 'to. Na hindi lang siya basta ano, parang bigyan mo ng effort pa rin yung character to fight, ah, kasi may value yung relics, eh, tapos bigla lang siyang binigay na gano'n. So, mas valuable, mas mataas yung stake, mas magmumukhang mataas yung stake ng box of relics kapag may gano'ng conflict. Yun lang naman. So, in any way in how you want to portray it, kayo na bahala. It's just yung idea na yun of, um, having that sense of effort and value. Okay, so that ends Relic, review. Next ay yung Numeros. So, Numeros ay art and story ni Ronjay, Valdenor. Wait lang. I'm trying to remember the premise. Okay, so si Nev, he is one of the former members, ano na galing? Former members of a mercenary group and, um, parang he's he's brought back to situations na magkakaroon ng parang, conflict din sa life niya, pero yun pala it can't save him. So medyo, um, sa pagbasa ko ng ano, first chapter medyo vague pa sa'kin kung ano yung pinaglalaban ng comic, I mean ng sorry, ng sorry, mercenary na group na 'to. Medyo vague pa sa'kin kung ano yung overall, picture, yung conflict. I know the characters, basta yun, wait, ano na, magju-jump na ako pero sige. So Numeros, that's the premise. Um, so here is some of, um, yeah, the inside pages samples. Clearly the technical aspects really good, paggamit ng references, hindi ako ma-term sa mga kung paano yung mga tips on how they render pero yun yung paggamit ng references, ano ba 'to, paint over, ink over, something like that. Maganda yung pagkaka-blend, hindi siya off tingnan. And again, yung use ng shading, toning. And, I guess yung action lines, yung action scenes, it's also well rendered. Um, yun. So technical wise, it's really good. Uh, yun. So roses for Numeros. So yun, well-presented characters, strong kasi napakita nila sa ilang sa gestures, sa scenes, sa actions nila, pati sa, what do you call this, sa boses. Sa boses. Ay, sa boses, sa dialogue. Sa dialogue. Yun, sa dialogue. Um, tapos, use of technical reference, as I said, good technical skill in rendering panels, may added humor. There's also a sense of humor sa dialogues, exchange ng bawat characters, and use of depth of field. It's don't. So yung Thorns naman, the exchange of dialogue in the first few pages are confusing, at least for me. Parang hindi ko alam, parang it's medyo ano, malabo lang sa akin kung ano yung sense ng conversation nila. Pero I think sa recall um may actually I've really forgotten. I'm sorry. Pero parang at natandaan ko 'tong first few pages medyo confusing siya. Like for example, I think sa visuals din, what yung naalala ko dito is for example, sige mamaya na. Basta gano'n. Na yung pala there's this person na in a phone booth. So I'll say my bud for this after. So the other thorns are, I guess, not enough story premise to give the readers more buy-in sa comic story, I guess. Sa first chapter pa lang, parang hindi ko pa masyado makuha yung conflict. Oo, yung conflict, the challenge, kung ano yung motives nila. It's more of character portrayal. Yun, I think masyadong na-introduce ang personalities ng characters veering away from the story. So I think there are panels na it could have been more efficient if yung paggamit ng dialogue to give more information sa reader, para at least they know what to look forward din sa susunod. Um, so yung buds, ayun, yung kagaya ng sinabi ko, dialogue and paneling can be more intentional to build the story and the characters themselves. So I think the um, characters naman ay well portrayed. I think it's more of the story, how you want the reader to be hooked more into the narrative. Yun. Next ay yung transition of panels. Ito, I think this is pertaining to the first tour na medyo confusing yung exchange dun sa phone booth ng dalawang girls. So, I think pwede pang mas maging fluid yung panels to build to to build to the next scene. So, for example, ayan, if she para magkaroon ng establishing shot or shot na nasa phone booth siya, parang gano'n. Para mas may idea yung parang mas scaffold in a way yung reader. Hindi siya mabibigla anong nangyari dun, ayun. I think I think that ends Numeros. So next up is Obsidian. Sorry ang daldal ko, nakailang minuto na ako. Hala, 30 minutes na. Pero shucks, I'll do my best. So yung Obsidian, Age of Extinction, story by Smartwise and art by Randomworm. So yan, ito yung sample pages. Sorry, yung premise niya, parang post-apocalyptic na kung saan yung fall of human civilization, na-take over ng nature yung humanity, yung world in general. Tapos they were able to create, yung mother nature created creatures, big creatures, supernatural beings called guardians of the lands. So to wipe out humanity. Ang makakapag-defeat lang sa kanila ay itong mga hunters. I think he called this hunters, I forgot. So yeah, yun yung basic premise. So here are sample pages, more of line work. Hmm, line work, shading, yung parang hatching of when it comes to shading or toning. Process. So, ito, interesting yung story premise. At least for me. Yun, use of technical references. Nakita ko din sa ilang panels na paggamit ng references effectively. Good technical skill in rendering panels. Ayun. So more of technicals yung roses for this comic. Yung Thorns naman, yun, I think not much emphasis on crucial story details at the start. I think I'll elaborate this more when it comes to buds. Pero napansin ko lang is yun, yung mismong pag-portray ng dialogue or ng story narrative sa visual. So medyo may disconnect ako na for example, ang nakalagay dito sa dialogue na 'to, but volcanic eruptions are the biggest mistake of mother nature. So pero ang pinapakita niya ay deer. So parang may disconnect ako na ayun, um, it was one way to slaughter, et cetera. So parang gano'n, parang may disconnect kung hindi parang iba yung words, yung sinasabi ng words dun um, sa visuals. Yun. So, another thorn would be transitioning between scenes. Tapos parang may lack of build up. I think yun nga, yung sa first few pages ulit to. Um, yung from the backstory of the whole, kung anong nangyari sa world, tapos jump to the main character. So parang baka mas may paraan pa mas maging fluid at mas maging maayos pa yung pagkukuwento at pagpo-portray nun. Kasi I think it's very essential na ma-establish ng maigi yun at sa simula at para alam kaagad, may picture kaagad yung reader kung ano yung ine-expect nila, or at least the basics in this comic. Tapos may mga ilang grammar errors. So, kindly check na lang if may proofreader kayo or pa-check niyo na lang sa friend niyo na magaling mag-English or Tagalog. Tagalog man yung ano. So yun. Yung buds, yung buds, ayan, create more panels that help build up the next scene unless if intention demands otherwise. Ano ba ilalagay ko dito? Pero yun, parang katulad ng sa Thorn, parang um, create panels that would help the reader, parang parang lead the readers na hindi iso-spoon feed mo lahat. Parang give them enough, pero don't parang give them enough. Wait lang, nag-aano na ako, nagra-ramble na ako. So so other than that, you use SFX, sound effects to emphasize the sensory reading. Um, yun. Tapos, yes, sound effects kasi parang yun nga, sa panels na 'to, I think puwedeng maglagay ng whoosh or swoosh diyan. Kahit hindi naman every panel pero may gano'n pa ring ano, so na-imagine mo siya pero naririnig mo pa rin. Yun. Next, I think this one is the most ito yung i-reiterate ko ulit na yung help the reader visualize what happened in the intro so through supporting the words with appropriate visuals to represent them. So ayun, may alignment na nangyayari na dapat kung ano yung nababasa ng readers at least matulungan ma-visualize with, um, in narrative, yun. So, para hindi walang disconnection mangyayari. 30 minutes in, I'm so sorry. Ang dami pala. So, may 3 pa. Joke lang, hindi pala. So, may 2 pa. Okay, let's do this. Zurvivors, art and story by Benj, Galutan. Ah, so ayun, this is a zombie comic. Uh, so yung premise nito ay si G, si Cecil, and other groups of survivors in a post-apocalyptic world full of zombies. Pinapakita dito kung paano sila mabuhay araw-araw, just to survive the zombies. So, ayun, may story of betrayal, friendship, um, ayun, and a lot of grit sa characters. So, yun. So, here are sample pages. First glance, maganda din ang technical aspect ng comic na 'to. Nakuha yung toning, yung vibes ng 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 comic, yung mismong aura niya. Ang hirap ano, nawawalan na yung words ko. Basta yung atmosphere, the tone, the mood of the whole, story nakuha din sa toning ng comics. Yun, use of, the values to portray the different, perspectives, foreground, middle ground. Ayun, and well rendered yung zombies and of course the figures, the protagonists. Hmm, yun. So roses, good use of lighting and panels. Ayan, may specify akong lighting, oo. So mas na-increase or na-emphasize yung effect of that horror-ness sa good use of lighting. The technical skill in rendering panels, impressive rendering of zombies. Talagang well-versed si Benj on how he renders zombies. And lastly, nice logical flow of events. Um, Nakalimutan ko na yung sequence of events, pero yun, basta okay siya. Nasusundan ko siya, kumbaga. So, yung Thorns naman, may mga grammar errors, yung paggamit ng, um, for example, sa page 9 na trap, parang kailangan may dash. Tapos yung paggamit ng quit, basta yung apostrophe, yung siya, S apostrophe Y-A. Hindi siya na wala parang siya. Tapos yung pwede, may U, um, parang gano'n. So, ito yung mas correct spelling ng pwede. Kasi yung pwede, di ba, mas text, shortened type. So, yun. Maliban dun, medyo technical na nga 'to. I think it's medyo nag-nitpick na ako, pero yun, be mindful of these things as well. Paghahati ng dialogue sa speech bubbles. So, I think this is the one I'm pertaining to, na pwedeng maglagay ng comma or yung mismong paghahati niya dapat may sense pa rin. Yun. So, parang kailangan mag-contribute kayo para magbigay natin ang pangailangan ng lugar na ito. So, parang ayun, be mindful na lang of how you dissect them. But how to improve dialogue writing can be more fluid. Use of Taglish can be ano ba yun? Ako mismo na nalilito na rin sa sinusulat ko. Basta yung dialogue writing can be more improved. Yung Taglish pwede mas maging natural pa. Grammar use of ng and na. So for example, ano ba? Ito, medyo na-irk lang ako dito. Pwede kayong magstay. So pwedeng ibang word na lang na diretsuhin mo na lang Tagalog. Pwede tayo nandito muna or manatili dito or something like that. Yun. Tapos, yun lang. Yung mga ganun. Ayun, so that ends Zurvivors. This will be our last. Infected Black Forest, art and story by Randomworm. Okay, so, another z zombie comic, um, so dito naman parang may clans na nangyayari din, um, but we'll get into that later. So here are sample pages, more of heavy black inks siya. Well rendered din yung zombies and ayun, yan. So yung roses naman, good use of toning to depict depth of field, and good technical skills in rendering characters. So technical ulit yung aking roses dito sa comic na 'to. Next naman ay yung Thorns. Font size, too small in some speech bubbles with lengthy conversations, mahirap basahin. Yun, I think pain point ko yun habang binabasa ko 'to na parang hindi ko na masyado nire-read through yung lengthy, dialogues lalo na kapag maliliit siya. So be mindful of the size, especially kapag ipe-print, yun. Use of commas, periods to properly convey the thought. So I think particularly ito, period, comma, ayun. So be mindful of that as well kasi it also gives information to the reader kung paano mo siya pino-portray. Use of punctuation marks. Thorns na last thorn ata 'to is using the whole page for one character, with not much important information. So I think it's more of the intention of how you portray the narrative, how you unfold your narrative with respect to, paneling itself. I think generally in visual storytelling, how much you need to present it in such a way na hindi siya sayang sa panels. For example, ito, okay yung ano, yung dialogue niya dito, you could have presented more visuals on para lang ma-feed pa yung reader to give more idea on what he's talking about. Na hindi lang siya naka-stand lang na ganyan. So, although baka intention mo din yun, pero I think it's more effective if you want to ayun nga, to convey more, and to grip more the reader. Um, Odds, dialogue writing can be more refined, explore different styles to express different personas. I forgot kung anong particular page, pero I think in general, since they're characters, mas maganda na ma-define mo sila on how they speak. Um, so yun, I think magandang tip nga is you just listen to conversations of everyday life, for friends, radio hosts kung kailangan, or ang daming pwedeng panghugutan. Yun, font size, make it bigger, more legible. Yun, and in general, yeah, yung storytelling itself. Ayun, I think ayun, last na 'to. Story can add more details to what they are fighting for besides zombies. Introduce the conflicts that can arise in different camps to add more weight and value in the story. So, I think conflict ulit yung ano, it it needs more, um, buy-in pa, information para magkaroon pa ng buy-in yung reader. Pero other than that, okey, okey naman. Yun, I think that's the last. Hindi ako naglagay ng thank you slide pero, um, yeah, that's it. So, thank you for listening. 45 minutes, well, 40 minutes. Mitzi, out.